Niravasi is one of those games that reminds me why I love playing these indie games. A game that's the result of true passion and love. And I really think that it creates experiences unlike any other. And I'm so glad I can finally tell you all about it. Niravasi is an adventure horror game released in July of 2022 by Sovereign. Player views the adventure of an Antharian named Mira, an archaeologist cat dude, working as a mercenary to Willow Eugenics, which we'll get to that. He's hired alongside a team to explore a large, incredible city that has been left in abandonment for many decades, Niravasi, in search of a teen that has supposedly gone missing. While seeming like a simple grab-and-go mission, it's not long before the ship crashes due to some magnetic field disabling the controls, and not too long after that, we learn that we aren't alone here, as Mira's team gets taken away or straight up killed. Which, I mean, all these guys were kind of jerks, so, like, sucks to be them. But now the inexperienced Mira is all on his own, starting from the outskirts of the city to eventually working his way through it and discovering what happened to Niravasi, the dark truth that gets revealed through it all, and his meeting with the guard still preserving and seeking to finish its goals it was programmed for, Eon. Well, maybe Mira's not entirely alone, as he starts receiving calls from someone by the name of Clovis, who has seemingly been stuck in the city for many months. And while he may be vague, he might end up being the key to get Mira out of here. I'll go a little deeper on the story later, but I mean, have y'all seen what this game looks like? This game is gorgeous. I don't care what y'all say. The art direction here at points is amazing. It's so impressive. There's one moment near the end of the game that left me speechless. Straight up a video game moment I'll never forget. Absolutely awestruck. I'm not even going to show y'all it. It's just magical. Also, let me just say the title screen of this game is great. Like, when I get hit by a title screen like this, then I'm ready to have an amazing time. I believe the director and like the main creator of this game, King Sangos, said he wanted to show off what this 3D plugin for RPG Maker NV could do, and honestly, he utilizes and makes the most out of it. Through both the various locations and environmental storytelling within them, it really does feel like I'm exploring this vast city. This game doesn't pull having a million places, but they're all locked. If there's a building with a door, I can go into it. Sure, this isn't some massive open world where I can explore hundreds of different buildings, but I think the idea in the world presented through what we see spreads the idea across well enough without having to overstay its welcome, which none of these areas do. It's rapid-paced exploration through these varied locations. Another thing that needs mentioning is the use of lighting in this game, having dark areas where the player has to rely on their flashlight to see. It adds so much to the horror of this game. This game genuinely caught me at points, and I think the horror is done really well. Like, yeah, sure, there's some points where it's relying on surprise loud sound, but it's nothing too egregious. But the use of lighting for horror, incredible. Moments where I turn on my flashlight and just see, whoa. Or how a lot of enemies in this game emit a blue glow, subtly teaching the player to be aware of these blue lights off screen. But then the game starts using bluish lights as part of the environment. It's so clever, and it always left me unsure, made me play careful and be aware of my environment. And just that distant darkness, and seeing things emerging from it. I like that a lot of these scary moments aren't part of cutscenes, but just happen naturally while I'm still playing and I'm in control. I always think that the best scares in horror games are the ones that players can potentially miss. One thing that of course helps with the visuals is the soundtrack. And wow, is the soundtrack composed by Halpin amazing. Beautiful as hell ambient tracks, intense themes for characters and chase scenes, everything just has a weight to it. Just listening to Eon's theme, I can reflect so much about the character onto it. This imposing, cold, calculated AI, dead set on trying to revive the city. Niravasi's last hope in some way. All the tracks are utilized so well, and it's these mixtures of visuals and well-timed music that creates moments that have impacted me more than most games. Other games wish they could have moments like finally seeing the city, cameras scrolling up as this soft, melancholic piano plays, as we see this massive, imposing, yet desolate city. The kind of vibes that can't be put into words, of being this explorer, only ever seeing this city now, a place once thriving with life, not really being one of the last to tell its story. This is the kind of place I could be in forever. Though, I guess while we're on the topic of sound, alright, here's the sound build I used for the game, because dear lord, every sound effect in this game is like a jump scare. All these text sounds and bubble noises just get in the way of allowing me to be absorbed by the music and ambient sounds. I don't know if some of these parts would have been as effective as they were if I didn't adjust my sound settings to be that way beforehand. People have complained about the sound effects, and it has been lowered in patches, but it's just not enough. The music at points is criminally quiet. I'm sure that's intentional, but given the choice between this beautiful music and listening to these sound effects, which I recognize some as default ass RPG Maker NV sound effects, then buddy, the choice is clear. I guess I can't complain too much, because I am allowed to alter these to my preference. And keep in mind, I have sensitive hearing. Maybe there's just some sounds that are ungodly loud to me, like picking up Clovis's calls, that isn't to other people. Audio balancing and sound mixing probably isn't a thing that much of y'all think about, but trust me when I say it has a huge impact on a game. And it's also just pretty annoying to work with, like especially for what's basically a solo dev. The gameplay of Niravasi isn't something too complex to talk about at length, but I can give some thoughts on certain aspects. Mira has 9 hearts, which is cute. It's like cats having 9 lives, yeah. And a flashlight gauge. These can be restored at SV stations, which are pretty common, and where the player can save. Though I guess the player can save whenever, but I'd say the game has a big focus on stealth and maneuvering around enemies, alongside light puzzle solving and key hunting. Enemies typically alert other enemies, or even start countdowns for one of the main chases of the game to appear, resulting in the players having to hide in safe rooms. And this can result in some very tense chases. I actually feel like I need to run some optimal lines or I'm gonna get caught. This is definitely a personal preference, but I kinda wish the game was harder. And I'm not sure how I feel about how the health is handled. It's almost just there for aesthetic, really. Off the bat, damage is kinda variable. Some enemies deal 1 heart of damage, some deal 2, but quite a few are just instant kills. It works in chase scenarios where smaller enemies slow the player down, but in normal play the enemies don't feel that threatening, especially because there are full heal saves in nearly every other room. Like, oh, my bad, excuse me. If I recall correctly, which is an uncertainty, my memory isn't really good, but in the demo I played for this game, everything was an instant kill, and Mira only had 3 to 5 hearts, but only in the water section part of the game. I'd prefer only having 3 to 5 hearts. Like, yeah, maybe in the story, Mira is unprepared and potentially inexperienced in this dangerous world. But I mean, in gameplay, this dude can take hits. I feel like a fully upgraded character starting out. But that's just my views. The game makes it clear it's made to be accessible to a wide audience. So believe it or not, the main target isn't just weirdos like me who play too many RPG Maker games. Imagine. I guess there's some other issues I found with the game, but a lot of it's just quirky RPG Maker stuff, like my flashlight still draining while reading terminals, or stuff like turning off Mira's flashlight on a screen loading activation tile just ignores the tile, so I can walk past loading barriers to where I shouldn't be. To a farther extent, I could probably skip cutscenes and events just by flashlight walking through event triggers. but I haven't tested this flash step tech outside loading events. I mean, there's that one water section with the delayed controls, but everyone in this scenario knows it's just the game being held back by the engine. And I'm glad that Sangos would still push these ideas and put them in the game, in the face of these limitations to still give his vision. I'd rather have this than have it be removed. And plus, I played delay-based fighting games, so this is nothing. There's also this incorrect loading transition here, but honestly this is all pretty minor, and chances are most people wouldn't even notice. I think my bigger problems will have to be covered in the spoiler section, where I can cover more of the story and such. Speaking of which, let me do some light talk about the story and the characters before then. There is a very overwhelming correlation and mirror to racism and eugenics within the story of this game, which may sound like a strange way to start things off, but it is a major theme. From the main villain's programmed goals of protection and perfection, to the ever-present war between humans and the race of Antharians. I mean, a lot of the logs in this game are in reference against Antharians, such as Mira. We are straight up working for an organization known as Willow Eugenics. And some of this stuff is very rough. It's very dark in a way that I can definitely see making a lot of people uncomfortable. I loved the story. There was so much intriguement in being able to explore this city, understand what happened here, going deeper and finding the truth that few others know, while also understanding the world around the main character and all the events that have occurred and are ongoing now. It really lets the player paint the picture of what happened here, through all these characters we only ever know by name, characters we read about early on in other people's text logs, to eventually finding their logs and seeing their views inside of the story. The game has a respect for the player putting things together on their own, and it really makes the city and the story behind it, in itself, a main character. I know to a lot of people, the idea of having to constantly stop to read journals and logs sounds pretty boring. I don't typically enjoy games like that, but I find myself liking it here because I was intrigued enough to figure out what would happen, and the logs are usually pretty short and maybe they were just well spaced throughout the game. I found this world and the ideas of the many people in it to be interesting, and piecing things together through these logs, like, darn, I felt like an archaeologist trying to figure out what happened here. It's an interesting scenario and I think it's executed well. And there's still a lot of cutscenes and dialogue between the main characters. The logs are just for the world and city of Niravasi, but the relationships between Mira, Clovis, and Eon are still learned without logs. And honestly, I can't hold it in any longer. I love Mira. What a great protagonist. I love this dude. If y'all got a problem with Mira, then y'all got a problem with me. This dude has gone through so much garbage in his life and has the most double-edged luck. Seeing him stand up and prevail against all odds rules. And I love how much he comments on things in the environment and how it reflects his character and what he's been through. I was going to make fun of how much he comments on random tables and pots being things that he'd love to put in his room. But the more I read it, it really paints the picture that Mira is just broke as hell. Commenting on stuff like how baths are a luxury, it really tells the player indirectly, just through Mira's interest of wanting to collect things he thinks is valuable, and his comments and views towards Niravasi and the people that live there. And it really makes things clearer to why he's here to begin with. The whole point of this journey was just for him to get some money. He's a mercenary for hire. Mira's not a hero. He's just a guy trying to make it. I really like that he doesn't care about potentially saving his team. Even the idea, he's like, no. And while that may seem kind of jerkish, I honestly agree with him. He's out there for himself. And after what this world has dealt to him, I can't complain. I feel that. I like his relationship with Clovis too, and how Clovis is all about camaraderie and is upset that Mira doesn't care about saving his team. and how the two just don't always agree with each other. I want to talk more about Clovis and Eon, but I kind of need to lift my restrictions here, so spoilers. Take a look at the timestamp in the video. I'm not going to put one on screen because I might edit and cut some parts out of the video. If y'all want to go deeper into my thoughts on the game, then you all must go deeper into Niravasi itself. Or something like that. Go play the game, damn! So, am I wrong to assume that Clovis's appearance is kind of a spoiler? Like, I was surprised how open Sangos was with it on his Twitter, but we'll get to Sangos' Twitter later on. Watch out. But I don't know. I feel like he's this mysterious person the player doesn't know a lot about, and there's kind of a build-up to him actually appearing. So, listen. There was an appeal to this game for me when I saw the main character was a cat dude, right? Mostly for my interest in playing as non-human characters, but, you know, cat dudes are cool, right? But on the other hand, I think Anthro-Bat characters are on a whole nother level. I love that hidden spacey fact. And guess what? Clovis is a bat dude. Hell yeah. I mean, just look at him. Golly. I'm looking respectfully, I swear. But yeah, Clovis is cool. He can be kind of weird. Like, this dude blows his own problems way out of proportion. Like, buddy, it's not that big of a deal. Chill. But I'm cool with him. Lynx is neat too. I didn't really mention her, but she's still kind of relevant. I mean, I barely recognized her from the beginning of the game, and it's clear that there's some stuff about her that's just unclear to me. There's definitely more to her that I'm curious about, but I kind of like that aspect that we just don't get to understand everything. Everyone has their own business, and within the short time these characters know each other, there's no chance for us to get to know everything. Then again, maybe I just missed a lot. I think this world has a lot of mystery to it, and maybe that's what keeps me thinking back to it from time to time. But, let's clear the carpet, because it's time to talk about Eon. What a great villain. Interesting and almost tragic in a way. Sangos said he was inspired by some story, I can't recall well, but it's about the lengths an AI will go to optimize its sole purpose, to the point of bringing harm to the people that it was made to benefit for in the first place. I think the story that Sangos referenced was like a robot programmed to make paper cups, and ultimately seeing humans as an interference and hindrance to its goal, without being able to understand that the reason it was making paper cups in the first place was for the humans. I can definitely agree that Eon is the star of the show in Niravasi. Even their design with that face is just always going to be in my mind. When I see a black triangle that's like upside down, even now I still think, oh crap, it's Eon. Like, that just stuck with me. And I love the idea of this city, desolate for years, taken over by this AI, taking its orders to the extreme, with the player coming decades later and seeing what has become of it. As weird as it sounds, I actually kind of respect Eon, and I'm somewhat glad to see how happy and positive they are towards their goal. Something about seeing all the work they've done and the determination to finish their mission makes them oddly likable. Don't get me wrong, I don't agree with what they're trying to do with evolving the human race until they dominate all other races. But in Eon's world, their logic is completely sound. This is what they were made to do, and that is all they seek to accomplish. Just such an interesting character with a hellbent presence and desire to kill Mira throughout the game. I really felt like I was getting hounded by them, like they could show up anywhere at any time. I was a trespasser in Eon's land. And I also like getting to meet all the other AI throughout Niravasi. Coffee, Sarah, Momo, hearing about why they were made, and what has happened since then. No lie, I really thought the game was going to make Momo a twist villain, and I like the relationship of the player spending the whole game getting chased by an antagonistic AI, only to be told, oh no, this one's good. Like, I don't know, Clovis, are you sure I can trust this one? I love these characters, really. I was actually pretty sad when the game ended. Like, no, I wanted to see what these characters will do next. Like, is Mira going to keep being an archaeologist? Or if after this scarring event, he's done with that? I mean, he's like super rich now, but he's told if he speaks of anything that happened in Niravasi, he'll be silenced. So is he now always under watch? Is he truly living in peace? Or what about Clovis and Lynx? From what I read, the player's ending is determined by how many Vigarium fragment things they collected throughout the journey. So I got the awesome ending, getting like 45 or 47 of them, but apparently there's an even better ending if I got all 50. I can only imagine what happens in that ending. But I guess with the freedom of spoilers, I can start talking about some of my bigger issues with the game. First of all, I'm going to be honest, maybe calling Clovis just shouldn't have been a thing that the player can do. I don't know how it was programmed, but it does not accurately follow the player's progression, to the point where a lot of the times I call, the characters just start talking about events that haven't happened yet, or are about to happen. I found Nick. Who? I didn't find anyone yet. Same with Lynx. At some point I just stopped calling Clovis because it was spoiling the game. Progression itself is weird. Like, I believe it's called Lolutunda, is such a cool place. It's this large library of knowledge of the city and theories on the world, other entities at play beyond us. And it's split into all these different colored areas, and it's such a neat place to walk around, with this underlying puzzle of having to remember a number from each area to open a door underground. Or the player can just go down one color path and skip the entire area. And yeah, it's probably intentional. There are other puzzles throughout this game that the player doesn't have to solve. But skipping this area with some rather important and cool plot things seems weird. Like, after I skipped this area, I just reloaded the save back to when I first got here so I could properly explore and do the puzzle. It doesn't have any impact on the overall game. I guess it's cool that the player can, if they choose, just move on from this part. I just thought it was odd. But maybe it's odd game design things like that that stick out and make things unique. Maybe we don't always need to follow the standard of it and the expectations when it comes to exploration. So there is something I can respect about this. But I think when the actual flaws come out is the perfection complex, or whatever it's called. Like, I'll be blunt, the game should have been farther delayed. This area needed more time to bake because it is a mess. I personally think it's kind of weird the game makes a big deal about saving our team members when we only see like one die, and then we just kind of assume the rest do too. Like, yeah, I mean, Mira probably didn't have any second thoughts. He doesn't give a crap about these people, but still. I mean, sure, they suck, but I mean, I'd at least like to see them die. Which, okay, that sentence sounded kind of bad out of context, but that's just a preference. The real problem is that this area is just bugged out. Besides the spoiling calls from Clovey, I randomly get hit by the super speed at one point after a cutscene here and using the phone, and for some reason Lynx just leaves the screen here. Like, where are you going, buddy? The biggest culprit is that if I go to where Clovis comes from in this area, I can just skip to the final area. That's what I did at first. I was confused, like, who the hell is Lynx? I skipped saving her and all of that. At some point I wondered if I should be following the designated path or if I should go off the track and explore, because the game felt like it was breaking under me. I was scared to explore. It felt like I was tiptoeing around sequence breaks. It just made this part feel weird, especially when a lot of the previous parts of this game gave me a wide area to explore at my own leisure. Now it was like, just follow Clovis, don't explore where he came from. I was curious how he got down here, but no, don't do that or I skipped the whole game. Like, what the hell? It's been said in devlogs that this area is going to be a target in terms of progression for future updates. And yeah, I agree. Of all the locations in this game, it's this one I blank out the most on when I think about it all. On the bright side, I really enjoyed the palace. I think the game ended on a really strong note. The music really helped, and going from the dark city to this beautiful, awe-stricken palace in the glowing sun is still such a powerful moment. I'm still not showing that moment that blew me away, but it was here. Like, first going up the stairs. Y'all who played the game know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff I love in video games. Overall, I really enjoyed Niravasi. The first thought I had when the game ended and I went back to the title screen was, what a game. And I still feel that way. What a game. Sure, there's a certain area with some progression hitches, but other than that, this game nails everything in such a unique way. I really recommend people to play this game. It might just be one of the most underrated games I've looked at in this channel. But before we wrap things up, there's one final thing I want to talk about. And that's the main person behind Niravasi, known as King Sangos. It might be Sangos, but be quiet. God dang, I never pronounce anything right. Y'all should know this by now. I'll be straight up honest. I know this can be said about most indie devs, but I have just such an appreciation for how much work King Sangos put both in the game and around it. It's hard-working indie devs like Sangos that I respect above all else. This dude was dropping weekly devlogs, these analog horror lore videos, and constant tweets about the game. Honestly, kind of tweeted too much. Like, I could have done without seeing certain aspects. Like, I didn't need to see what Clovis looked like. And I kind of just trained myself to ignore the tweets. Like, dude, I'm already sold. I don't need to see every aspect of the game. But it also just went to show how much work King Sangos put on this game. Like, one week he'll post, alright, just finished the second area of the game, still got a lot of work to go. And then, like, 1 week later, he's like, okay, here's the final chase sequence of the game. Like, goddamn, this dude was finishing a new area like every other week. Meanwhile, I'm over here spending a day just drawing a single sprite. The work and passion went into this game is commendable. Sangos is a dude that loves his work. What a legend. And I respect all the effort he put into it. I definitely could never do the constant marketing for the game that he does. But hey, that's what led me to the game in the first place. And Mira being a cute cat dude may have helped with the convincing too. And that ever-burning passion continues now. Not only is Sangos putting in a big secret ending side quest to Niravasi, alongside some touch-ups to areas, but he's also now starting to work on 3D modeling for a 3D platforming game he wants to make. Hell yeah. Pop off. But yeah, this was quite the experience. An interesting world of great characters, and an intriguing city of secrets. So, if this interests any of y'all, check out the description of this video. Because even though some say it's a myth, past the forest of ruins and structures lies a mysterious city, living lonely in mystery. The lost city of Niravasi. Hey y'all, I'm back. I wanted to come back with a game that I thought slammed, and Niravasi was that game. Beautiful. But at the same time, I'm going to be taking things more serious from here on out. More videos, higher frequency, probably shorter, at least 30 to 40 minutes. There will be some exceptions because I have some big reviews coming. And it always feels weird for me to say this after looking at an indie game, especially one that I want y'all to support. But I'm starting a new thing on my Ko-fi. No, not that one, but this one. Anyone who gets a $2 or higher membership will get my videos a week early, alongside getting y'all's names in the credits. I want to be able to keep working on my stuff, and to keep making videos where I get to talk about and save my memory on these games. So, if y'all want to ride with me, then I'm down. And consider supporting my Ko-fi. But, as time flies through, I do too. So I'll catch y'all later. Love ya.